air may be thin, but the history is deep in the ancient Peruvian city of Cusco. To many, this forms a necessary stop before carrying on their pilgrimage to Machu Picchu. But if you stay a while, you may start to recognize the ever-present layers of antiquity and modernity in this city. You're listening to Tall Stories, a Monocle production brought to you by the team behind The Urbanist. I'm Andrew Tuck. In this episode, Elna Schutz explores the duality of the city in Peru's Andes Mountains.
The city of Cusco in Peru is often a stepping stone for travelers needing to acclimatize to the altitude before visiting Machu Picchu. But in the minds of a bygone civilization, this was the center of the world. This city is in fact a living duality, and its walls are a constant reminder of the varied history of Peru. Every corner of the old town is a reflection of how the ancient Incan Empire ruled until the Spanish conquest. To show you this, let's start in the main square of Cusco, the Plaza de Armas. At first glance, it might feel almost like a square in Spain, with its green grass around a bubbling fountain. But the statue on top is of Pachacuti, an Incan emperor. This has been the center of public life here for centuries. If you take a look at the walls of the shops and restaurants around the square, you'll see that most of them are seemingly built in two layers. The bottom half is made of smooth, strong stone built at an angle, showing you the ingenuity of Incan architecture. A slanted wider base protected against the earthquakes that are frequent in the region. While the Incas typically stuck to more sturdy one-story buildings, the Spanish built on top of it. There's ornate wooden balconies and lots of blue paint, which often was a sign of wealth. Speaking of wealth, imagine a building covered in gold. The Incas frequently covered temples in this area in a thin layer of gold that was mined nearby. The gold would dazzle in the light, honoring the sun, which the Incas worshipped. Around the Plaza de Armas stood some of these important buildings, like the Temple of Quisquacancha. Once it was destroyed by the Spanish, the Incas were used as laborers to build the Cathedral of Our Lady of Assumption on the site. The Gothic Renaissance-style building looms over steps, where tourists and locals now rest their feet and buy snacks from street carts. The other main building on the square, the Church of the Society of Jesus, holds a similar story. It was built on the Amaru Cancha Palace, the house of the Great Serpent. This was likely where snakes, another sacred animal to the Incas, were kept. Venture down the alleyway next to the church and you'll see more traces of the city's history. The pedestrian-only road is very narrow for the simple reason that the Incas traveled by foot, sometimes using alpacas as pack animals. The busier, wider streets with car traffic came mostly from the Spanish era, where wheeled wagons or carts were more common. Off to the side is a preserved archaeological site showing the Incan city structure more clearly. Compounds held several families in smaller, multi-purpose buildings around cozy patios or gardens. The Incan city was brought to life with a complex system of water canals that you'll still see today. The visible canals were used for fresh water, while another hidden canal lay below that was probably for drainage. The Incas haven't been in power since the mid-1500s, and Peru has been a democracy since the 1980s. Now most people in Cusco are Catholic, but many incorporate the older wisdom of the Incan Empire into their lives.
Tall Stories is a Monocle production from the team behind The Urbanist. This episode was written by Elna Schutz and produced and edited by David Stevens. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive new episodes every week. I'm Andrew Tuck. Goodbye, and thank you for listening, City Lovers.